Okay, so we're taking a break from graphs and, just from the graphs itself, but we are going to talk about how we can use what we've learned the last couple of weeks and apply it to word problems, okay? So we're going to go over 4 types of word problems. Pay close attention because we're spending 2 days on this, and it's really important you know how to do the word problems themselves, okay? So we are going to talk about slope-intercept form, standard form, point slope form, and 2 points using linear regression. So let's dive in. So the hardest part is knowing which form is in the word problem. So it all depends on what they give you in the word problem. That helps me figure out, okay, is it slope-intercept form, standard form, point slope form, or 2 linear or 2 coordinates? So let's go over it. Slope-intercept form is when you are in the word problem, you are given a rate of change, which is going to be your slope, and a starting point, which is going to be your y-intercept. Because if you remember slope-intercept form, this is y equals mx plus b. So in my word problem, we are trying to figure out what my slope and my y-intercept is in the word problem. So let's read this first problem here. You and your friends plan to attend the county fair this weekend. The admissions to the fair is $5, and the cost per ride is 50 cents. If your parents give you $20, write and solve a linear equation to find how many rides you can go on. Now, this problem has 3 numbers. Yes, I see those 3 numbers, but my focus is first going to be on this first or the second sentence right here. Because in this sentence is my slope and is my y-intercept, okay? So first thing I want to do before we find those 2 numbers is what helps us figure out what my slope and my y-intercept is clue words, okay? So clue words for my slope especially are per, each, every, and, rate, and times. Okay, these are my 6, and they're not the only 6, but these are my 6 clue words that identify my slope. So let's read this again. The admission to the fair is $5, and the cost per ride is 50 cents. Did you see it? I saw the word per. In my sentence, it says the cost per ride is 50 cents. So that tells me that my slope is 50 cents, which we write as 0.50. Okay, well, if that is 0.50, if that is my slope, what do we think this $5 is? Well, that $5 is my y-intercept. It's what I had to start with to get into the fair, okay? Now, at first glance, we have to first figure out, okay, are these positive numbers, negative numbers? Well, it depends on the context, okay? So yes, this comes into your English class. We're bringing it into math class. Context clues. If I go to the fair, me and my friends, the admission to the fair is $5. So in my mind, yes, it should be -5 because it costs $5 to get in and it costs 50 cents per ride. But let's think about this. If we're talking about the fair, they are the ones making the money. So it's actually positive in both cases because that money is going towards them. So we're going to leave them both positive. So what's my equation? Y equals my slope, 0.50x plus 5 because it was positive 5. There's my equation. So they want us to first write our equation. Now we are going to use this $20 to solve. Well, it says write and solve a linear equation to find out how many rides we can go on. Well, what was rides? The x. So my $20 was my total that they gave me to pay for my rides and the cost to get in. So I'm going to substitute y with 20 equals 50 cents per ride plus $5. So they want us to figure out how many rides I can go on if I have $20 to spend. Well, let's solve for x like we've done before. To solve for x, I'm first going to subtract 5. 20 minus 5 is 15 equals 0.50x. Then to solve for x, I'm going to divide by 0.50. And my calculator, 15 divided by 0.50 is 30. So what does this mean? It means I can go on 30 rides and have enough money to go on 30 rides. So $20 gets me in the fair and 30 rides that I can go on. Wish I could go to that fair. That's pretty cheap. Okay, let's do the same exact thing, but we're going to do it in a different context. So if I look, while your family is visiting Deep Creek Lake, you and your mother decide to go boating. The rangers charge $6.50 per hour in addition to a $25 deposit to rent a canoe. Did you see it? If you read that sentence right there, in this sentence is my slope and my y-intercept. Well, did you see the word? Again, I see the word per. Per is my clue word that tells me that 650 is my slope. Well, if 650 is my slope, my y-intercept is the second number because this is how much it cost originally to rent the canoe. So $25 is my y-intercept. Well, what is my equation? Y equals my slope, 650x, plus 25. That's it. That's my equation. But they want me to use my equation with this information. If you wish to rent the canoe from 12:30 to 3:30, write and solve the linear equation to find the total. Okay, slow down. Here, my first problem, they gave me my total. My total was $20 that I could spend. So we put 20 in for y. But this time, they want us to find the total, which means they didn't give me y. That's what we're going to be looking for. They gave me x. And you're like, Miss, how in the world can I put 12:30 to 3:30 in this problem? Well, x is how many hours I spent on the canoe. Well, they told me right here, it was from 12:30 to 3:30. So how much time went by? 12 to 1:30 is 1 hour, 12 to 2:30 is 2 hours, 12 to 3:30 is 3 hours. So guess what? Instead of putting 3 for y, because y is the total, they want me to put 3 for x. It's just substitution. So I can do this in my head or I can type this in my calculator. 6.50 parentheses 3 plus 25. And my total that I spend, because I spent 3 hours for $6.50 an hour plus 25, I spent a total of $44.50. And there's my equation, or there's my answer. Okay, so we went over slope-intercept form. You have to identify the slope and the y-intercept using your clue words. So make sure you get those clue words memorized because this is the first time we've seen them. And then solving for what they give you. They'll either give you the total, the y, or they'll give you the x, okay? So now we're going to practice standard form. If you remember standard form is ax plus by equals c. Okay, so on a slope-intercept form, we learned slope and y-intercept. But on a standard form, we use this when the problem relates to two different objects. Okay, so the only way I can explain this is if we actually dive in and give it a try. Okay, so if I read it, it says Sam ordered 2 tacos and 3 enchiladas for lunch at the restaurant. His bill came to $7.80. If enchiladas were $2 each, write and solve an equation to find the cost of each taco. Okay, if you read this first sentence, these are the 2 objects that they're talking about, tacos and enchiladas. So guess what? We are going to represent X and Y for those tacos and enchiladas. X is going to represent tacos, and Y is going to represent enchiladas. And it is really important we know which one's which when we're solving these problems, okay? Then in the second sentence, they gave us the total that they cost, okay? So C in these problems represents our total. So how do we write this? Well, if they order 2 tacos, that's 2x. And if they order 3 enchiladas, that's adding 3y equals my total, which was $7.80. There's my equation. This is standard form. AX plus BY equals C. 2 tacos plus 3 enchiladas cost me $7.80. okay? But then they want me to take my equation and solve. It says if it costs $2 for each enchilada, write and solve the equation to find the cost for each taco. Okay, so this is where it's important, where we knew what was what. If enchiladas was Y, okay, right here, they want me to put 2 in for Y because I got 3 enchiladas for $2 each. They told me how much it costs. So I'm going to do 2x plus 3, the Y is 2, equals 780, okay? So then I want to solve for x. So 2x, 3 times 2 is 6, so plus 6 equals 780. To solve for x, we're going to subtract 6. So 2x equals $7.80 minus 6 is $1.80. Divide by 2. So x equals 180 divided by 2 is 90 cents. What does this mean? That means it costs if it costs $2 for each enchilada, that means it costs 90 cents for each taco. And that's it. There's my answer. Okay, so let's do this again. Because it's not good enough to do it one time, we have to do it a second time. So if we read this one, tickets at a school play cost $4 in advance and $5 at the door. Total ticket sales for an evening production were $440. If no tickets were sold in advance, write and solve the equation to find out how many were sold at the door. Okay, so in this first sentence, it talks about my 2 different objects. Well, what are my different objects here? My first object is in advance. So x equals in advance. That's supposed to be 2 different words. And then y equals at the door. I know that what you're thinking, these aren't really objects, miss. I know, but that's what they gave me. So x is in advance and y is at the door. So how do I write this? 4x plus 5y, because it's $4 in advance plus $5 at the door, equals my total, which they gave me, was $440. Total is always given. That's the C. Now we've got our equation set up. They want us to solve how much it would cost for the door if no tickets were cost in advance. Okay, so no tickets means 0, but where do I put the 0? Well, it says 0 for in advance. Well, in advance we said was x. So I put 0 where x is. 4 times 0 plus 5 times y equals 440. Then I solve. 4 times 0 is 0, so it goes away. So I'm left with 5y equals 440. And then I want to divide by 5. So y equals 440 divided by 5 is 88. So what did I just find? Well, if there were 0 tickets sold in advance, this is 88 tickets sold at the door. That's my answer. Okay, so we went over slope-intercept form. That's slope and y-intercept given in the problem using our clue words. Then we were given standard form, which is what happens when I compare 2 different objects, whether it's tacos and enchiladas, in advance to at the door tickets. Now we're going to talk about point slope form. And you guessed it, point slope form is when they give you a point, which is a coordinate, an ordered pair, and the slope, which we've talked about already, is my m, which is what we're going to use to find. We're going to use our clue words to help us find, which were per, each, every, and, rate, and times. Of course, there's others, but these are the main ones. We use our clue words to help us find the slope. And just remember what our point slope formula is. Y and the opposite of y equals the slope, parentheses x, the opposite of x, okay? So let's see if we can identify the point and the slope reading a problem. At Eagle Bay, it costs $10 per hour to rent a canoe. Nick and his friends rented a canoe for 3 hours and paid $45. Write and solve a linear equation to find the cost to rent the canoe for 8 hours. Okay, did you see it? In this first sentence, did you see the word per? Well, there's my clue word that is my slope. So yay, we found our slope. If you read the second sentence, they gave me 2 numbers in that second sentence. And you guessed it, those 2 numbers are my point. So my coordinate is 3 hours is $45, okay? And I want to label these. So 3 was hours and 45 was dollars. And you'll see why I labeled it here in a minute, okay? So now we're going to take our point and our slope and put it into my formula. So y, the opposite of positive 45 is minus 45, equals my slope, which is 10, parentheses x, the opposite of positive 3 is minus 3. So there's my formula nicely set up using the word problem. And now we are going to, okay, so now we got to figure out what they want me to solve for. Well, it says, write and solve a linear equation to find the cost to rent canoes for 8 hours. Okay, this is why we labeled. If 3 was hours, that's our x, and 45 was dollars, that was our y, where do you think I put 8 hours? Well, so where do I put 8? Well, if 3 hours was x, then 8 hours is also x. So that means where I have x, I'm going to put 8. Do you see where I'm going? So y minus 45 equals 10, parentheses 8 minus 3. So now let's solve. Y minus 45 equals 10. Well, what is 8 minus 3? That's 5. 10 times 5 is 50. Okay, now to solve for y, I'm just going to add 45. So y equals 50 plus 45 is 95. Okay, so wait. If 8 hours was x and we found y, well, 95 is dollars because y is dollars. So we always have to figure out what we actually label it for. But there's your answer. So let's take it again. I'm doing point slope formula. So we're going to try and find our slope and our point using the information they gave me in the word problem. A construction company charges $15 per hour for debris removal, plus a one-time fee for the use of the trash dumpster. The total fee for 9 hours of service was $195. Write and solve the linear equation to find that one-time fee for the trash dumpster. Did you see it? In that first sentence, they gave me my slope. How do I know 15 is the slope? Because of that magical clue word, per. So my slope is 15. And if you kept reading, they gave me in the second sentence 2 numbers, and these 2 numbers are our point. So my coordinate. So 9 and $195 is my coordinate. Again, we want to label. So 9 is hours and 195 is dollars. Okay. So now we're going to take this into point slope form. So y, the opposite of positive 195 is minus 195, equals the slope, which we said is 15, parentheses x, the opposite of positive 9 is minus 9. Okay, so we've set up our formula nice and easy. Now we figure out what they want us to solve for. Write and solve a linear equation to find the one-time fee for the trash dispenser. Interesting. So this one's a little bit different. And the reason why it is different is we have to figure out what that means by that one-time fee. Okay. In simple terms, that one-time fee is referring to our y-intercept. If I can fit this on here, sorry. I don't know what that says. But our one-time fee is our y-intercept. Let me write that better. So how do I find the y-intercept in this problem? We're just going to have to solve like we normally would. Distribute, so y minus 195 equals 15 times x is 15x. 15 times negative 9, which my brain is fried, so we're going to do, 15 times negative 9. is negative 135, if I can write today. Then I'm going to add 195. So y equals 15x. Negative 135 plus 195 is positive 60. So look at this equation. One-time fee is the y-intercept. Well, which one is the y-intercept? The $60. So there's my answer. It was a weird one because they didn't give me how many hours. They didn't give me the cost. They just wanted to know what would be that one-time fee. So we just had to solve and simplify and then figure out what the y-intercept was. So that one was a tricky one. Okay, last but not least is 2 points, which in most people believe this is the easier one. When I'm given 2 points, that means I'm given two different ordered pairs, x sub 1, y sub 1, and x sub 2, y sub 2. Point 1, point 2. Pretty simple, right? So let's go ahead and read. To surf the internet for 25 minutes at an internet cafe, it costs $7.25. For 40 minutes, it costs $9.80. Write and solve the equation to find the cost for surfing for 1 hour. Did you see it? If I read this first sentence, they gave me my first ordered pair. 25 minutes, it costs $7.25. For 40 minutes, it costs $9.80. There are my two ordered pairs, that simple. But first, let's label before we jump in. So the X's were both 25 minutes and 40 minutes, so X is minutes. And then the Y's were dollars, $7.25 and $9.80, so my Y is money. And that'll become important in a minute, so make sure we label. How do we do this? Well, we just do linear regression, which is what we've done before, where we go to stat, okay, and I'm going to type my coordinates in, 25 on the left, 725 on the right, 40 on the left, and negative or 9.80 on the right next to it, okay? Then you go to stat, over to calc, number 4, enter, 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 and we are given slope and y-intercept. So we just write this equation, y equals, let me make sure. Yep. So we do linear regression, and we're given our slope and y-intercept, so y equals 0.17x plus 3. There's my equation. It's that simple. But they then want me to solve for how much it would cost for 1 hour. Okay, so first things first, 1 hour is time. And just like 25 and 40, that's time. But wait, they gave me time in minutes. Well, here they changed it on me and they did hour. So this is where we have to convert. If these are minutes, we have to convert this 1 hour to minutes. Well, how long is 1 hour in minutes? 60 minutes. So we're not going to use 1, we're going to use 60. Where does 60 go? Well, that's why we labeled. If minutes was X and dollars was Y, and they gave me 60 minutes, do I put it for X or do I put it for Y? Well, minutes and minutes go together, so we're going to put it where X is. So y equals 0.17, parentheses 60. We're just replacing x with 60. And since it's all on one side, we're just going to type this in. 0.17 times 60, oops, plus 3. So my total after 60 minutes was y equals $13.20. How do I know it's dollars? Because this is y. And y over here was dollar amounts. Okay, last question. Again, we're dealing with 2 points. So let's see if we can figure out what our 2 points are. Water boils at 100 degrees Celsius or 200 degrees Fahrenheit. Water freezes at 0 degrees Celsius or 32 degrees Fahrenheit. If the weather forecast says it will be 25 degrees Celsius today, write and solve the linear equation to find the Fahrenheit temperature for this. What was my first coordinate? In this first sentence, they gave me my coordinate. 100 degrees Celsius, 212 degrees Fahrenheit. The second sentence, they gave me 0 degrees Celsius and 32 degrees Fahrenheit. But let's label. Both of them, the X's were both the Celsius and the Y's were both Fahrenheit. So make sure you label. Now we're going to type this in my calculator using linear regression. So delete, 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 delete. 100 on the left, 212 on the right, 0 on the left, 32 on the right next to each other. Stat, over to calc, number 4, enter, 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 enter. And they gave me my slope and my y-intercept, so my slope is 1.8x plus 32 because it's positive. Now we figure out, where do I plug in 25 degrees Celsius? Do I plug it in for x or do I plug it in for y? Well, if x was Celsius and y was Fahrenheit and they gave me Celsius, I'm going to plug it in for x again. So y equals 1.8 parentheses 25 plus 32. Okay, if they gave me Fahrenheit, then I would have put it where the y is, but they didn't. So now we're going to type this in, 1.8 parentheses 25 plus 32. So how many degrees is this? This is y equals 77 degrees Fahrenheit because we're solving for y and y was Fahrenheit. Okay, so when we're dealing with word problems, it can be a doozy, but you have to think about what they gave you. If they gave me the slope and y-intercept, then we do y equals mx plus b. And we always use these clue words to help me with the slope. If I'm comparing two different objects, then we use standard form. Tacos, enchiladas, tickets in advance, tickets at the door, or baseball, football. I mean, whatever the two things they're comparing, we use standard form. If they gave me a point and slope, then we use point slope form. Again, we use the slope words to help me out. If they gave me 4 sets of numbers, which means 2 coordinates, then we use 2 points and we do linear regression. And then it comes down to where do I substitute? And that's where you have to really read the context clues. So it's pretty straightforward. It's just you have to think a little bit. So make sure you know which form they give you in the word problem.